Hi guys, how are you? Okay, today I'm gonna tell you my story, right? So I was born in Mendoza, Argentina, foothills of the Andes Mountains. So you know where Chile is, South America. Chile and Argentina are separated by the Andes Mountains. I was born in Mendoza, which is next to the Andes, and has the Andes inside. Top three highest mountains in the world include the Aconcagua, 6,900 meters of altitude. So that area is very cold in winter. You go to -20, and on summer it's very hot. Big amplitude of temperatures, which is very good for wine. Actually, that's one of the reasons that now I'll talk later about that, because I have a wine business at the moment here in Ireland, and I'm importing wine from Argentina into Ireland, right? Anyways, so I was born there, and in Godoy Cruz, which is a town, it's a centric town, it's next to the city center, and in the yeah. So my father, he worked in electronics. He was selling, wholesaling batteries and electronics. My mother, she was a teacher of physiology, plant physiology in the university, and yeah, so she sent us to, when we were 3 or 4, to kindergarten near her university where she was working. It was convenient for her, so that's why we started there. And I remember every time I was going to kindergarten, I was like always getting some, obstacles, like discussions or with the teacher or stuff like that. Always was put in the seat of regret or something like, or the seat of the sillita de la tranquilidad, the seat of tranquility, because I had so much energy and I wanted to talk with the teacher, with my colleagues, and I never stopped. So I had to put myself into the that seat, which I hated, because it was like blocking all my energy, all my ideas, all my creativity. 3 4 years old we're talking, so I was from 3 years old to 5 years old, and I remember that censoring, which I didn't like at all. That's one of the things. And then through the rest of primary school, I remember every time I have an obstruction with a professor, every time I have a different opinion, I was like, shut up, just shut up, or if you keep talking or you keep obstructing, you're gonna get a penalty or something like that. So it was like all the time censoring and limiting self-expression to all the kids. We have to learn and be quiet what they taught us, without even leaving us freedom of expression. And I remember I was always trying to understand what I learned, to make sense for me, not just for reading and memorizing. But they put, like professors and the school put effort in you to memorize things. Then you go to exam, you memorize it, so you reply all the answers without even thinking about it, without even understanding what you're doing. They don't teach you how to think. The only time I started thinking, or learning how to think properly, was in engineering, the pre-exams for getting into studying industrial engineering, math, physics. Then when you have some problems and then you have to think about and then apply the correct formulas and get the results. Some problems though were people, like I remember our students studying and they just copying our same examples and copying the formula, using the formula, getting the result. That's it. Applying the formula, what is it, and don't understand anything about the problem. I remember that as well. But I was also something that helped me a lot. It was not just the engineering problems. It was like history. It just helped me to understand the different context of humanity and the civilization, such as the Industrial Revolution, for example, such a big change in society. Uh, People moving from the countryside to the cities to work. The first machine that established a big change in the world with the steam machine. With the steam, the motors, they could create ships, and then textiles machines that automate processes, and the cities started getting bigger because all these new technologies allow bigger productions. Factories were more busy, hired more people were exploited, child, also female exploitation, and then labor rights started there, the syndicates, all that thing started there. But there's where everything started getting wrong. Up to date now, we see big companies, big factories exploiting their employees, and what I finally learned in my process now, I'm 32 years old. I live in Dublin, Ireland. 7 years ago, I came here after I graduated as an engineer, as an industrial engineer, for experiences, for improving my language, my English, because I only had Spanish and I learned English, but I only had the grammar. So I wanted to learn more about speaking, practicing with people. So I say I want to go to an English spoken country, which allows me to work if I want. So Ireland was the best option because the UK was about to get out of the EU. So 2018, I said, let's go to Ireland. I heard about the good humor of Irish, good culture there, and I knew that it was like Ireland was in the top 5 countries in Europe in terms of quality of living, the Human Development Index. So yeah, I came to Ireland, and the first 3 years I worked first in everything in hotels, 5-star hotels, and then I got a job as an engineer. So I traveled to Waterford, the south town of Ireland. So then COVID happened, and then the factory stopped. I was working from home, and that's why I started researching different type of ideas to start my own business, and that's why I started a business combined with wine from the region where I was coming from Mendoza, Argentina. I started importing wine and then selling the wine online as an e-commerce. That's a bit of my history though, but I want to come and go because I'm trying to think in my reflection as a child, being censored by professors, by teachers, not allowing me to have my fully expression or expansion of my creativity. I remember I liked drawing. Also playing with silk. I went to some workshop to manage silk, silicone, and I remember I did my first 2 figures were a pharaoh from Egypt. I don't know why I did that, and then a face of my father, like a big flat face of my father. I remember also in art, that I love art. I love drawing and using colors, painting. That creative side of me, I really like it as well. But yeah, so some things were good in school, but some other things were like just learn about that, but memorize it and then go to exam and just reply what I teach you, the same words, and they don't test your capacity of learning, of understanding the topic. They want you to memorize that and then pass exam without developing your capacity of thinking, of understanding. that happened to me during industrial engineering. The first 3 years are basic, are a lot about chemistry, physics, maths, and it's very tough, especially the first year. Many people, leave and abandon, exit, quit, because they are not prepared mentally to to understand those topics. And you can kind of notice that those people were the kind of people that were always learning by memory, and then passing the exams. They never learn how to think. So when you make it difficult for them, they automatically quit, or they don't try to understand the good thing of learning. Because what I really enjoy in my college was understanding topics. So it made me more confident. It made me feel good. Once I understand a topic, then I could explain it to others, and then I reinforce my learning. And then when I go to the final exams, I already did that many times. So for me, just a third time explaining that to the professor, where the satisfaction is when they are happy that you understand it. Like you know what you're talking about. You're not just repeating stuff. But many people are approved because they repeat the stuff, which is the correct answer, but they don't even understand themselves inside what they're saying, or what that formula is for, or what that's supposed to do in the real world, right? So I think like the majority of the education system, from the school to college, you can take a lot of information and learn and then use it in the practical world, but the way they teach you or the way they evaluate you is not the best way, because they are not teaching your capacity of learning topics. They just want you to test you for if you know the knowledge, yes or no. I mean, by memorize it, you can pass the exam. So that shouldn't be the way if you want to really make successful students with correct understanding of different topics to apply in the world. Because the majority of people is just studying and then just living with zero knowledge. Everything is erased after that. Why? Because they never put effort in understanding each topic that they were learning. We're just memorizing and then repeat it like a fucking parrot, right? And then that's it. Of course, the brain is gonna forget it. Because for me, it really worked when I was studying. That I have to understand it first in order to enter in my brain and memorize it. Once I understand the topic and then I teach to somebody else, it was easier for me to get information inside my head and understand it without even doing so much effort. So that was one of my best techniques for learning topics very well. Learning it, understanding it, and then doing some examples and teach it to somebody else, speak it to somebody else. That was a great way to reinforce the knowledge for me. Right, so why are we talking about this? Because I want to share like my experience in university and in school, and try to analyze after 2018 I finished my degree in engineering. I like doing the thesis, the final part. But then 7 years happened now. 2025 I work as an industrial engineer. I know what corporates work, how they work. They can be an operation manager can be sacked in this, and you are just there looking at it saying, oh my god, this is the corporate world. They can sack you like that, even more for big companies, multinational companies where they have branches in all the world. If they decide to sack somebody in operations because they are not getting the results they want, they will just go to the operation manager and sack it like that. Then if you're working with him, you could be fucked straight away. That's what happened to me. my first job, the person that hired me, the operation manager, hired me as an industrial engineer, and he was sacked after 6 months. Everybody loved him, but in the work, in the labor, right, in the factory, but some senior managers didn't like him, didn't want him to go up, because his aim was to be a general manager, from operation manager to be a general manager, and some people didn't want him there. So there was a difficult time in the company where sales are going down, operations, production efficiency was going down as well. So they had to sack somebody, and they sacked him. I was so lost when that happened, because I was like, okay, this is my leader, like he has a lot of leadership skills, and what I'm gonna do now, because he left the company. That was very difficult for me. I tried to work on my own, but then COVID happened, and everything changed. The factory had to close, because the factory was producing games for Hasbro, so Monopoly, Trivial Pursuit, all game boards, and I was in charge of balancing the manufacturing lines, production lines, for efficiency. So, lowering cycle times, like lowering the amount of operators in the line, trying to use some machines to automate process, and balance lines, and then use as less operators as possible to make the product cheaper. I was doing all that type of things. When COVID happened, they had to close because it was not an essential business, right? So the year that the hiring year finished, and many of the engineers that were hiring by contract for 1 year, they were not renovated, and then they offered me a business development role for a 6-month contract to see if I like it. So I started working as a business developer representative for 6 months in the company during COVID, from my home in Waterford. There was nothing to do there with COVID restrictions. It was terrible. So I had a lot of time to be in the internet, explore opportunities, how I could build my own business. I did a course in Shopify. I started a Shopify business, a drop shipping for clothes, like streetwear clothes, and I didn't put enough time and money to grow the marketing. I did some first sales, but it was a good experience to learn to grow a business from scratch and make it work, with all the marketing, the website, social media, product description, etc. So that didn't go through, but it was the first base of knowledge to start a business. So I decided to start something like I was more passionate about it. It was from my town, where I was born, and so I decided to start with wine from Mendoza, Argentina. So to make an e-commerce for wine and sell in Ireland, business to consumers, basically. So I was in contact with a couple of wineries. First, I wanted to try to work as a sales rep for some winery, connect them winery to some importer here in Ireland. It didn't work, so I said, fuck it, you know what, I'm gonna create my own company, and I import myself, and I start selling myself. That's what I did in 2020. I started bringing my own stock from Spain first, Argentinian wine from Spain, and then I started, after 2 years, bringing it from Argentina directly. The e-commerce, I started a very basic ship platform with GoDaddy, and then I improved it with Shopify. I paid a team like it was $300, and now the website is still alive in that theme, which is criadowines.ie. That's the website if you want to have a look at the store. And so what I started to do is importing wine from 2 different wineries and sell them online to consumers. So during COVID it was very good because people were not allowed to go to restaurants, pubs. They were buying a lot online, like Amazon sales went to a very high peak in that times. people were buying a lot online, and especially wine. They got more into wine than dining at home. So yeah, that was very good. After COVID, the restrictions were released, so people started going away again to restaurants, pubs. So I needed to get into that industry, so I started doing some wholesale, and I got up to 20-25 accounts, including restaurants and maybe wine stores and some hotels. So that was good. I still have the company. It's still not taking off completely. I mean, every year since 2020 to 2024, it has increased the sales, but also I have increased the expenditure. I started importing more wine from Argentina, more and more. So it's you, the measure you grow, then the expenses start going up, and then you have to learn how to manage cash flow properly. I got an investor from Ireland for growing the company. So yeah, I still have the company. I'm trying my best, but I still need a side job to pay the bills, basically. So I've been struggling difficult times because I stopped working. I was just working for my business. Then bills were high in Dublin, and I was struggling. So I had to get a new job. But I got a car, which then I had to sell, and my finance got, like, it was a finance car, and then I sell it to a guy that scammed me. He was supposed to sell to pay the full finance, right? He didn't. So now I have a big debt personally for the car. So I'm paying monthly without having a car. So I'm trying my best here in Dublin. Like, I have a business, I don't have a car anymore. I'm just using my bike, using transport. After 4 years of hustling hard, 4 years of hustling hard with my business, I had my electric car, which was great, but then I had to sell it because I couldn't afford it, and why I'm doing this video, because I want you to understand a life of an entrepreneur from another country, from Argentina, in a country like Ireland, where it's very interesting to invest here as a company, because the interest rate for corporates are 12.5%, one of the lowest interest corporate tax rate in Europe. And I also wanted to reflect on on the system that we live in, because I work myself in a supermarket in Tesco, right, as a side job, as a driver, right, and I see the amount of shit food that people are buying, right, all chocolates, all high sugar stuff, bread, processed food, soda. It's impressive, and the amount of plastic that it generates. Every time you go to the supermarket, you see queues of people with big bags returning the plastic. It's absolutely impressive to see how much plastic the world is generating at the moment. What I wanted to say is that I think, there's a lot to change in this world. Many things are wrong, from the education system to the way we produce energy and the way we put food in, the packaging that we put the food in. Like, plastic is absolutely disgusting, and I'm trying to bring some consciousness about it, because then a lot of that, it ends in the ocean or it gets burned, and contributing to big emissions of CO2. That's why the planet is now warming up that way, because the CO2 is accumulating in the atmosphere. Every time it's bigger and bigger and bigger. That creates a reflection of this heat and then comes back to Earth. That's why every summer, every country is getting more and more warm. It's one of the things I wanted to talk about it, but forgive my grade of energy for talking. I'm a bit tired. and it's the first time I create this video style, so I'm sure next time I'm gonna have more energy because I'm a person with a lot of energy, right? A lot of energy. But you know, I didn't really want to do this video, but something told me in my head, you have to do this video. It's gonna help somebody else, you know. I have a lot of stories to tell you and strategies to grow your business online, your e-commerce, a real e-commerce with logistics, customs, imports, distribution. You know, I work with UPS. I send wine to all the country nationwide. You know, I have learned a lot, accountancy, tax, website, you know, product description, social media, search engine optimization, SEO, Facebook ads, Google ads. But I don't want to talk about that only. You know, I want to talk about my life and challenges of living the real life in this world, which is crazy at the moment. A lot of things happening, and then understanding the world better once I left my home, my original country, to a country where all the things are different, and being on my own for such a time where I started learning more about myself, more about how the world works, and trying to reflect and connect with some of you that might offer some opinion about it as well. But anyways, guys, this is my first video now. We came and go to the past, from my history to some of the topics of the system, how is it working at the moment, and basically it was just me flowing. But I want to do a second video. I'm gonna be more active here in YouTube, to discuss real things that are happening in the world right now, and how we can approach it all together to make a better world, basically. Okay, see you in the next video.